Oh my god, Rings of Power is over, and brother, what a train wreck. What an absolute waste of $1 billion, right? Like $1 billion. I've also heard a couple of things that maybe there was a few other additional, just a slight budgetary increase for the second season. What's a few $100 million between friends, but I haven't seen that confirmed anywhere. So yeah, just take it with a grain of salt. That this only cost the trim $1 billion for 8 hours of content. If you just round everything up and, just put all of the additional minutes over the top of this together. So yeah, 9-10 hours now that everything's all said and done. What have we accomplished? Well, you made a Sauron a crying disaster. You've ruined one of the best female characters in all of literary history and made her the most insufferable girl boss put to screen. You've ruined the character of Elrond, full stop, but you accomplished all of that stuff in season 1, well, except for Sauron. You took the title of the classic Stone song, Sympathy for the Devil, and applied it a little bit too liberally, where you think that, if Morgoth was just a better stepdad to Sauron, didn't beat him and torture him, perhaps he wouldn't have turned Celebrimbor into a pincushion. Ugh. What else? That's just one of the many disparate plot lines that just aren't necessary. Oh yeah. Speaking of Sauron, the guy who he's eventually going to lose his finger and the One Ring to, just turned him into an uncontested simp for a good dude Sloppy Seconds who doesn't like her betrothed anymore for reasons, just showing how much of an unstable head case she is and how he should just go ahead and, pack up his stuff and just go somewhere else. But no, you want to turn Isildur into a piece of a love triangle that would look out of place and look forced in one of the Real Housewives series. But over in Numenor, because that's where, season 3 is basically going to be taking place with the fall of Numenor. Spoiler, not spoiler, everybody's going to forget about it in 2 years, and if you thought the steep ratings drop off from season 1 to season 2 is going to be something, just wait for season 3 when that eventually does come out. Who knows, we might be in the heat death of the universe, or maybe the World War III draft will be started by then, and literally nobody will be left to watch. But anywho, at least Elendil's gonna be there because he got Narsil. Remember that? That's the sword that Aragorn got. The Return of the King is so great. Oh, I want to die when I seen that. He got it from Muriel. He got it from Tar Muriel. It was so cool. You remember Narsil? That was the sword that Elrond, that guy right there, the bitch out on the battlefield. Oh, he reforged that in Rivendell. It was so cool. You remember that from the movie? Fuck off. When Gandalf got his staff and he got his name because proto-hobbits, they're gonna be on their journey to Hobbit Jerusalem in season 3 because she said Gandalf. Fuck me, I want to die. Oh yeah, and the Balrog turned up in the first scene, killed off, maybe, I don't know, whipped the leg of the Dwarf King Durin the Third, and they showed, I guess, just the teensiest bit of strength, or I'm sorry, restraint by, well, they did have the Balrog whip Durin the Third's leg and trip him, but they resisted the urge to repurpose another line, even though they're definitely more than willing to do that, as they have throughout this entire insipid, toxic, keep that in mind, series so far. They didn't make him say to Durin the Fourth and Disa looking on as they went in there to save, help, kill her father. Durin's, I don't know, man. Okay, they resisted the urge to make Durin the Third look over, see one of his sons. I don't know what else, the rest of his sons would have thought about his quick descent into madness. But don't worry about that. We'll figure that out later. But look over to, yes, his son and his daughter-in-law. At least he didn't say, "Fly, you fools." That's the one compliment I can give to this abomination. But for full breakdowns, I know I'm definitely looking forward to EFAP's breakdown of episodes 7 and 8. That's going to be a long boy because there's so much stupidity in episode 7 and especially episode 8. Because, yeah, you had Don Lemonless, the Arondir, get stabbed a couple of different times by Adar. So you have 2 OCs from J.D. Payne, Patrick McKay, and Jennifer Salke. You have 2 characters, 2 OCs get stabbed in episodes 7 and 8, and you see it happen. One dies, and the other one is completely fine the next episode. Like, no mention of getting stabbed at all whatsoever. No signs of injury or not. It's just, fuck it, he's back on the battlefield. It's so dumb. It is so dumb. But hey, we got the Balrog, and you remember Sword. And Gandalf, oh my, I can't believe it. It's actually Gandalf. It's the dumbest show imaginable. 3 major deaths? Who even knows, man? Oh, and my, if you were watching the other Rings of Power video I put out earlier this week, I had a bit of speculation. I had a tiny guess go out there and say that because Adar got, Ninya, Galadriel's Ring of Power, he would put it on, he'd get purified and be revealed to be Celebrimbor. I was half right. I was half right. But holy crap, man. You hear all of that stuff. You have a love for Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, which this is it's weird, right? Because Rings of Power is being spun as an adaptation of Tolkien's work. But in actuality, it's more or less an adaptation of Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, because they steal more from that than they do from the appendices. Like, they just take a couple of things. Like, at least Celebrimbor got used as a banner. Okay, that was the one cool thing that they did. It's not even cool, especially the way that they got there. But yeah, it's one bit of iconography that they used. Other than that, it's just repurposing a bunch of stuff that you remember from, much better art 20 years removed. That's why anybody reviewing this stuff, watching content on this stuff, that have soft spot in their heart for that trilogy of movies can simply look at this very expensive, mentally deficient stage play and just point and laugh at it. You can refer to it as Rings of Power because it's not Lord of the Rings. For as much as they spent $250 million on the rights to the appendices, it's still not going to be Lord of the Rings. So it'll be interesting to see the ratings for this finale, because I can imagine there might be a little bit of an uptick, mostly to see how stupid the battle in episode 7 was, and its conclusion, and just all of the stupidity from episode 8. When those numbers come out, we'll talk about that then, but the amount of cope going on right now to try to explain this stuff away, like, they've pulled out all of the stops this time around. Okay, because you got a Tolkien professor coming out, and Corey Olsen this is, and makes this absurd claim that there is no such thing really as canon in Tolkien. Like, are you stupid? Because there's no way that you could believe that anyone would take you seriously. So I don't necessarily think that this is malicious. I don't think that he's telling a lie. I just think he really is firmly in the double-digit IQ club, because nobody could possibly take this seriously. You're just too stupid to come up with a better argument. That's kind of what I'm thinking here. Corey Olsen, who has dubbed himself the Tolkien professor, recently made an absurd claim. There's no such thing as canon in Tolkien, while defending the Rings of Power. In a clip uploaded to the Lord of the Rings on a Prime official account on X, Olsen states, first thing to specify that there's no such thing really as canon in Tolkien. Tolkien's ideas were ever evolving. No, like, he had letters, obviously, and he was going back and forth on a couple of things, but Frodo was the one to throw the ring in Mount Doom. That is very much a canon event. So there you go. Your assumption falls apart right there with that one. Ironically, he then cites the text of the Lord of the Rings. In the text of Lord of the Rings, we are told that Gandalf, the other wizards, arrived around 1,000 years of the Third Age. No. He just got his name and his staff from Nori in the stores. Didn't you just see it in that show that you're getting paid by? And in his latter years, he was playing with the idea of maybe Gandalf coming sooner. He was playing with the idea. He was theorizing that. Did he write it down? Did he contradict it? Or did he think, perhaps? They showed up a little bit earlier in the same way that he was theorizing and trying to rework certain aspects of the orcs. At the end of the day, there's orcs, there's Uruk-hai, there are no orc families. Anyways, but yes, maybe the wizards coming in the Second Age and taking part in the wars, of the Rings of Power. Not really, because there's not many wars outside of the War of the Last Alliance, but don't worry, they can make up anything. Olsen's claim is completely absurd on his face. He even makes it more absurd by immediately citing the canon. In fact, Tolkien's essay on fairy stories, it makes it clear that one becomes a successful sub-creator by indeed adhering to the canon of the story. How do you square that circle? Tolkien explained, this really happens as the story maker proves a successful sub-creator. Now he makes a secondary world, which your mind can enter. Inside it, which he relates is true. It accords with the laws of the world. You therefore believe it while you are there, as it were inside. That's what Peter Jackson did. That's what Peter Jackson did with his adaptation of The Lord of the Rings. Yes. Things were changed. Book purists at the time were very upset with some of those changes. No Barrow Downs, no Tom Bombadil, no scouring of the Shire. There were things that were changed that the purists were pissed off about. But the changes that were made by Peter Jackson? The vast majority of people, even the book purists that are out there, can admit that they were done in good faith, that they were done in the spirit of Tolkien. It didn't detract from the story. Some people have argued that it even enhances in certain aspects. But I digress. The moment disbelief arises, the spell is broken. The magic, or rather art, has failed. Now you are then out to the primary world again, looking at the little aberrative second world from the outside, he continued. If you are obliged by kindliness or circumstance to stay, then disbelief must be suspended or stifled. Otherwise, listening and looking would become intolerable. But this suspicion of disbelief is a substitute to the genuine thing, a subterfuge we use when condensing to games or make-believe, or when trying more or less willingly to find what virtue we can in the work of art that has for us failed. Which is what happens every single time that you hear a repurposed line from Jackson's work. When you see shot-for-shot comparison, you see the unoriginality on display. That's what you're getting. That's what you got with Rings of Power, not just Season 1, but Season 2 as well. And in fact, it was ratcheted up this time around. So yeah, this guy can go out there and he can try to spin his yarn however he wants. But Lord of the Rings fans, true Tolkien fans, they're just going to look at this hack, ask him how much he got paid by Amazon, and then just point and laugh at this absolute disaster. To just harken back to what we talked about with, toxicity towards the beginning of this video. There's a certain type of toxicity, and no, we're not talking about toxic fans that come in and review bomb a project before you even see all of it, which has just become a passé catch-all term for people that have, an honest and interpretation of events, and have this weird little power called pattern recognition, and I've seen this before. It's gonna be crap. Spoiler, hey, it ends up being crap, and then you have these people come out and say, why don't you just let people like it? And it's like, well, we're not trying to rob you of your feelings. We're just trying to say, this is bad. It could have been better, but it wasn't. Would have loved it if it was great. Simply isn't. Here's where it's falling down on its face. These are the people that just simply desire better stories, are tired with the tripe that's out there, don't want to adhere to the Ubisoft CEO who says, our gamers have become too entitled and the solid games are just not enough. They expect way too much from the game creators. They just think that they could go ahead, pay a bunch of money, put out a bunch of slop, and people were going to eat it up. But nah, man. Even this is too stupid for just normies who want to see swords clash together. They want to see, fantasy epics. They want something to go, that's kind of like that Game of Thrones show that was on the TV not that long ago. I remember that. I remember movies from 20 years ago. That was really fun. Nobody's paying attention to that stuff. Those people can even spot the contrivances in this nonsense. They might hear something like this going, oh, there's no such thing as canon, and even they will come to the conclusion that you're just lying. If there's a story, if there's a well-established character, okay, like in one of the law enforcement procedurals that these theoretical people watch, right? Like if there's a character that's on the show that's shown to be like a straight-laced police officer who does everything by the books, and then one day he just shows up in full clown makeup, he's got the wig on, he's got the squeaky nose, he's got the big old long shoes, and nobody acknowledges that, even they would go, what the hell, what's going on right here? And instead of a standard issue sidearm, he has a water pistol. Like, what are we doing? Why did you do that? But that's the way that several characters have been betrayed, even since the beginning, even since Season 1 into Season 2 of this Tolkienian abomination. And we're just supposed to accept your interpretation that there's no such thing as canon and Tolkien. You can go straight to hell, buddy. Hopefully those checks cashed, because your credibility, it went out the window, just like Rings of Power Seasons 4 and 5 are really looking to be. So with all that said, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.